Evening. It's great to be back with all of you tonight. If you will, let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started with our presentation tonight. Let's pray. God, we love you. We just thank you for all the ways that you bless us. God, we thank you for this opportunity again to come together and just talk about your kingdom, to talk about your children, the students that you have blessed us with, and how we can minister to them, protect our families, and how we can ultimately seek to further your kingdom through how we use technology. God, we just thank you for the many ways that you've blessed us. We pray that you be with those who are not here tonight. We pray that you be with those who are struggling and who are sick. And again, thank you for just allowing us to be here in these opportunities to talk about you and your word and your family. In your son's holy name, amen. All right, so full disclosure, I am not feeling very good. And really not feeling very good. So if I seem like I'm out of it, I am. But that's okay. We're here and we're going to make it work. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for your comments. Those of you who were here last week, I had a lot of really good conversations with a lot of people about some of the things we talked about. And I just appreciate your feedback and your thoughts and your questions. And by the way, we had a couple people came to me to ask questions. I think they were kind of embarrassed because they thought that maybe they were stupid questions. There are no stupid questions with this stuff, right? The reality is, so I don't know if I talked about this last week or not. Some of you have no idea what to do with a cell phone, okay? I don't know what to do with a car. So, we're even. It's all good. And the reality is that different generations have focused on different things, and we all have strengths and skills in different areas, and they're not all going to be the same. So you can bring your phone to me as long as I can bring my car to you. All right? Cool. Okay, so tonight we're going to focus in on social media for a little bit. Last week we talked a lot about the general issue of technology and students, why it was important, why we needed to dig further into it. We talked about a lot of the statistics associated with this. Tonight we're actually going to get into each individual area and talk about what the problems are, what the strengths are, and maybe how we can approach this. So tonight we're going to focus on social media. And we showed this last week, but this is the most popular social media among students, and actually these are the ones that students said they use the most, okay? So these are the ones that they use every day, and as we said last week, we have Snapchat at 35%, YouTube at 32%, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, none of the above, Reddit, and Tumblr at less than 1%. So, as we talked about last week, this changes, right? Because 2 or 3 years ago, Facebook was number one among teenagers. So what did we say happened to Facebook? It got old, right? So as the average age of the user rises, the youngest group of users moves on to a new platform. Okay, that's just how it works. It's how it works with everything. MySpace was that way back in the day. I say way back in the day, when I was in high school, not that long ago. But that's how MySpace was. MySpace got a little older, and all of us left for Facebook. Okay, so tonight we're going to focus on these first two, Snapchat and YouTube. These are the two most popular social media websites or apps that we see with students today. Again, feel free to make comments or ask questions at any point through this. One of the things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to try to evaluate the social medias that we talk about. Because the reality is, as parents, as teachers, as leaders, as ministers, we have a job to help our students, who are kids. We have a job to help them discern what is good and what is not. And so when it comes to social media, when it comes to technology, we have a responsibility to help them with discernment in what is okay and what's not okay. Well, that means in order for us to help our child make decisions, in order for us to help our child know what is good and what is not, we have to know what is good and what is not. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So anytime you look at an app, a video game, a social media platform, this is what I want you to think about, these 4 areas. Number 1, the level of exposure to the public. Okay, what I mean by that is if my child or my student uses this social media platform, how easy is it for a random person to gain access to them? Okay, that's number one. Number two, accessibility of explicit or inappropriate material. How easy is it for my child to either search for or accidentally stumble upon sexual or inappropriate material on this platform? And three, is transparency and accountability. And what I mean by that is, with this social media platform, how easy is it for my child to hide what they're doing? How easy is it for me to hold them accountable on this platform? How easy is it for me to know what's going on when they're using this? Does that make sense? And the last one is the emotional and spiritual impact. Put aside the dangers, put aside all the other stuff associated with it. Is it good for our kids? Is Instagram, which may or may not seem harmless, is my daughter being on Instagram all day, is that good for her spiritually? Is that good for her emotionally? So, put aside how dangerous something may not be or the bad things that are on there. Even in its best form, is this social media good for my child? What is the spiritual or emotional impact that using this could have on them? Are there any questions or thoughts about that? All right. Let's get to the fun one. All right, so we're going to talk about Snapchat for a second. I'm just going to tell you straight up, full disclosure, I hate Snapchat. I really don't like it at all. It came out when I was in college, and I remember when it came out, and everybody started using it. I hate it, one, because I think it's legitimately not good for our students, but two, it's just not enjoyable for me to use. So Snapchat was released in September of 2011. It has over 100 million users every day. There are 100 billion snaps, which are photos, sent every day. That's 100 billion photos sent every day. And it was originally promoted as a temporary picture sharing and messaging service. So here's how Snapchat works. This is a snap that I had someone send me yesterday so that I could show you this. So basically, what Snapchat is and what it was originally designed to be is you take a picture, you can put a little message with it, you have a lot of filter options, you can also take videos, you can make your face do weird things with these filters, and you send them to your friends. When your friend opens the picture, they can view it, and as soon as they exit out of that page, the picture disappears. And it's deleted, quote unquote. We'll talk about that in a second. But the key fundamental point of Snapchat is the ability to send pictures that auto-delete. Okay, so does that sound overly great of an idea? No, right? So we can start to see kind of where we're going already. That is the main purpose of Snapchat. The main purpose of Snapchat is to send pictures that auto-delete. Now, Snapchat has added a bunch of different features since they first started, but that is still the main fundamental purpose, is pictures and videos that auto-delete. Was there any question? Good. So there's also something called the story. Basically, you have a feed. You click on one of your friends' stories, and you can see all the snaps they've posted to their story that day. Okay. So if someone is at the theme park, they may take a picture at this ride and a picture with this character, put it all to their story, and then you can go view that, and their story deletes after 24 hours. Here are the issues. Number one, the idea of deleted messages, our students don't get that. Okay? We all kind of know, I hope, that things don't really get deleted off the internet. But our students don't get it. They don't understand it. I had a conversation with them in class this morning that kind of confirmed this for me. They don't really get that things never really go away. So what happens is students feel more comfortable sending pictures or messages that they might not normally be comfortable sending. Okay, I'll just be completely honest with you. When I was in college and this came out, we called it the sexting app. That's what we called it because that's what it was for. It was for sending nude photos to other people. Now that doesn't mean that everybody that uses the app does that, but that's what it was for. It's what the app was created for. It's what they had in mind when they created it. There was an interview with the designer pretty soon after it started, and he confirmed that. There was another interview later where he retracted that statement, but that's what the app was for. So I'll just leave that there. But pictures don't really get deleted. So first of all, if I send somebody a picture or a snap on Snapchat, they have the ability to take a screenshot, which basically just means that they can save that picture to their phone. So I cannot tell you how many times I've sat down with a family who have a teenage daughter. That daughter was using Snapchat. She was dating a boy or talking to a boy who asked for nude photos. She sent the nude photos on Snapchat thinking that they would auto-delete, and the boy took a snapshot and sent it around to the whole school. Okay? It happens all the time. So, a couple things about that. Number one, when you take a snapshot on Snapchat, it tells you. So, for example, if I send a picture to John and he screenshotted it, it would tell me that he screenshotted it. So I would know that. But the reality is that they can save it. The reality is that these pictures can be saved. Also, snaps that have not been opened yet are accessible by Snapchat. Okay, so they've sent a lot of snaps to the police that had not yet been opened. Snapchat is used for bullying a lot. It's used for shaming. It's used for threatening because students think that these pictures are going to go away, and they don't. The other thing is that users are not aware of the content of a message or picture until they open it. So if your child opens a snap, they have no idea what they're about to see until they open it. And one of the things that I think we need to understand with this stuff is that you can't unsee something after you've seen it. And for me, and again, I'm not a parent, all right? But for me, with our students, one of the things that I want to do is to protect their innocence as long as possible, right? Now, there's some ways we can go too far with that. But the reality is that once our students see something, they can't unsee that. The average age of when a child first sees nudity or pornography is going lower and lower every year. And the reason it's going lower and lower every year is because of the internet and the way our internet works right now. So I believe that we have a responsibility to try to protect our children from that. The other thing about deleted messages is the terms of service. Now this term, terms of service or TOS, we're going to talk about this a lot, all right? How many of you, when you buy something or open an app or anything, read the terms of service? Okay, you really, well, that kind of makes sense. You really, really should, okay? Like really, really should. It's really in life in general, but especially when it comes to the technology world, to the internet, because everybody's trying to pull one over on you. I'll just be honest, okay? Everybody is. So let's read something from Snapchat's terms of service. Okay, so basically it says that when you send a snap, Snapchat has non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable license to use, reproduce, modify, adapt, publish, create derivative works from, distribute, perform, and display such user content in connection with the services, subject to your use of privacy settings in the services to control who can see your user content. Okay, so basically what that means is when you send a picture on Snapchat, Snapchat now owns it. It's theirs. Now, there's a whole bunch of legal stuff there, but in theory, they can use it for whatever they want. Now, there's some rules in that and some ways you can mess around with that with privacy settings, but at the end of the day, what you post on the internet becomes public. One of the articles I was reading had this quote, and I really liked it. There's no such thing as anonymity online, only perceived anonymity. And we need to make sure that our students understand this. There's a situation when I was in college. I had a friend who was an intern at a church, and the church he was working at had some students who were dating. It was a boy and the girl. The boy was 17 and the girl was 16. They ended up sending nude photos on Snapchat. Okay. But he was caught with the photos, and he was charged with possession of child pornography. And because he had shared the photo with someone, he was charged with distributing child pornography, and he's a registered sex offender now. Okay? So our students don't understand the consequences of this. I promise you, they don't get the scope of it. And we have to make sure that they understand that. Beyond just that it's right or wrong, beyond all of that, our teenagers are not capable of viewing that far into the future most of the time. So we have to make sure they understand this. The other thing, and this is not as concerning as it used to be, but Snapchat has a feature called the Snap Map. Okay, basically, if you have it enabled, Snapchat allows you to see where your friends are located in the real world. Okay, it accesses the GPS on your phone. You have the fun little avatar that you make of yourself, and people can see where you are. Now, when this first came out, it was like really bad in that it worked all the time, whether you had the app open or not. You couldn't really turn it off. But Snapchat has since changed that because everyone said, hey, this is a horrible idea. And so now you can turn this off. It only shows when you have the app open, but we shouldn't assume that our teenagers are going to turn it off. We also shouldn't assume that our teenagers are going to have it turned off. Because the reality is if they have this turned on, then all of their friends have the ability to see where they are. There have been multiple cases in the last 2 years involving stalkers and other issues, kidnappings involving this. Okay, so that's a whole nother thing. Are there any questions about Snapchat? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it may be just information-wise good for people to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's making fun of it, saying that the internet is forever. So when you do these dumb things, the internet is forever.
And there's things that we have to understand too. People who know what they're doing can find anything they want to find. And really, it's not that hard. One of the first things, well, I'll give an example. When I was trying out here, I was speaking in the teenager class, in the teen class, and one of the girls, I'll just tell you who she was because she won't care, but Lauren raises her hand and says, "When were you in the play Oliver?" It was 9th grade. How did you know I was in that play? She Googled me, right? And while I was speaking, she Googled me, and on some random website from the Playhouse Theater, she found a picture of me. Like, think about that. From when I was in 9th grade. Our kids know how to do this stuff. It's really not that hard. You can learn to do it yourself too, but anything can be found. I didn't even know the picture that she showed me. I didn't even know that it existed. I don't remember it being taken, but it's there. Yes? Yes, there are. We're going to talk more about that next week too. Basically, if your phone uses an app store, then it's accessible. Now, one of the things about Snapchat that we need to clarify, it's not available on the computer or tablet. Yes? Yes, you can do that if you like to. And we are going to talk through some of those options next week. Do it? Yeah. So one of the things that we're going to talk about more next week, but I'll go ahead and tell you about now. There's a new phone now called the Light phone, and basically it looks exactly like an iPhone. It functions like an iPhone, except that it has no access to the internet. One of the things we need to understand is the only way that you can make sure that your student has no access to anything is if there's not access to the internet. Now, I don't necessarily think that's the best thing to do, but if you want the guarantee, then there's that. We'll talk more through those options next week. All right, finishing up Snapchat, the Discover tab. Basically, the Discover tab is a feed that you can click on, and it presents users with content from media partners and celebrities, and it presents this content based on an algorithm. Please understand that social media and every website you use is studying you, okay? So, for example, one of the ways that I tell parents how to figure out if their child is watching pornography is I tell them to get on their Facebook account or their Instagram account and look at the ads that are popping up. If the ads that are popping up are super sexual, it's probably because they're viewing sexual things, okay? Everything on the internet, not everything, but most things, are based on an algorithm, right? And some of it's really crazy, like really, really crazy. But that's how this works. So based on what Snapchat thinks you're going to like, based on what you viewed in the past, it presents this stuff. One of the issues is that while everything is pre-approved by Snapchat, there is no, it's not age appropriate, okay? It's not meant for kids. And that leads us kind of to a really important side note when it comes to social media. Social media was not designed for teenagers, and we need to understand that. Facebook was made for college students. It was never intended to be used by teenagers, okay? MySpace was kind of marketed that way, but not really. Recently, we're going to talk in just a second about YouTube and about YouTube celebrities, which is a whole weird thing. But there was an interview with one of these guys who does vlogging, and he has millions of kids that watch his vlog. And he posts videos every day, and they watch him basically live his life. And he got in a lot of trouble for doing some really stupid stuff, and so he had an interview with one of the morning news shows. And the interviewer asked him, they said, "Do you not feel bad that you have all of this adult content when all of these kids watch your show?" And he said, "No, I don't, because my show's not for them. I made my show for adults. I can't help it." And this is the part that got me. He said, "I can't help it if parents don't control what their kids watch. My show's not for kids." Right? And so we have to remember that social media, when they design social media, they don't necessarily have teenagers in mind. Okay? That in theory, it's for adults. Snapchat, in their terms of service, it says that you have to be over the age of 13. Okay? Also in their terms of service, it says that you can use it if you're under 18 with parental permission. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you something, and hopefully nobody gets mad at me next week if they get in trouble. But if your child downloaded Snapchat and is using it, and they're under 18 and they didn't ask you for permission, they lied. Because there's a box that pops up that says, "Do you have parental permission to use this app?" And they have to click it. So just a heads up. Is there any other questions about Snapchat? All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, the difference between Snapchat and IG,
Uh-huh.
like, it seems like it's similar, but
Instagram and Snapchat are very similar. The biggest difference is that Instagram, like the deleting pictures, that was not what Instagram was made to do. Snapchat was made to send pictures that auto-delete, and they added some stuff. Instagram was made to post permanent pictures that act more like Facebook, but with pictures, and they then added some other stuff that included the stories. And does that make sense? I'm more comfortable with Instagram because we need to go back to what it was intended to do when it was made. So thinking about these factors when it comes to Snapchat, level of exposure to the public, you add friends, so it depends on who your child chooses to add, but in general it's not great. Accessibility of explicit or inappropriate material, not good. Okay? There's easily accessible on Snapchat. Transparency, accountability, really not good because, again, this app was made to send pictures that auto-delete. And emotional, spiritual impact, I don't think this app is good for our students. I think that it encourages too much behavior that we don't want. I've seen a lot of issues with bullying, a lot of issues with just some horrible things that people have done because they thought the picture would go away. So for me personally, it's not an app I'm fond of. All right, let's talk about YouTube. YouTube is in theory the second most popular social media right now. But to be honest, if your kids are in elementary school, it's probably the most popular thing with them. YouTube is huge. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I told you about Snapchat. I love YouTube. I use it all the time. I actually had conversations with several of you last week that you use it too. YouTube has been around for a while. It came out in February of 2005. And YouTube is just really cool because basically it's a website where people can post videos. And you can find anything on YouTube. When I need to know how to do something because I don't know how to do many things, I go to YouTube and I figure out how to do that. I was talking with Ralph about that last week. If there's a show that I want to watch, I might could find the full episode on YouTube, but I can at least find a preview to see if I'm going to like it. Everything is on YouTube. We put our sermons on YouTube. I mean, everything. It's a video sharing service. Over 1 billion users, which is more than a third of the internet, by the way, and more than 100 hours of video uploaded every minute. There's a lot of video on YouTube, like a lot. And it's important that we understand how big it is so that we understand what we're doing when we let our children just go search. Think about how much video is on that site, and then you put a child in front of the computer and let them get in the search bar and just go looking. So here's the issue. The best thing about YouTube is also the worst thing. The best thing about YouTube is that you can find anything on it. The worst thing about YouTube is that you can find anything on YouTube. So YouTube is used by pornography producers all the time to market material. So what will happen is they'll post a video that's not necessarily showing any nudity, but it's promoting a certain video or a website, and that'll be on YouTube, and they're very easy to come across. There are also many videos that are violent and graphic. There's some really rough stuff on YouTube. YouTube has very loose terms of service in regards to what can be shown. Also, videos on YouTube are not necessarily marked explicit unless the poster marks it that. So you don't know what kind of language is going to be in there or what kind of content until you watch it. There's also been a trend recently over the last couple of years of videos that are disguised to look like popular children's shows or characters, and they're actually not. Sometimes they're very sexual in nature. Sometimes they're just bad, like just weird, demonic stuff. Also, the comment sections on YouTube, under the video, there's a comment section where people can post comments and reply and talk back and forth. YouTube is notorious for having really negative, kind of toxic, not fun comment sections. And there tends to be a lot of rough language and a lot of just hurtful things generally back and forth. That being said, I think YouTube is actually the most useful as a parent and one that can be controlled really easily. Here's another issue with YouTube, though. So we need to talk about YouTube stars. Okay, YouTube has given the rise to what's called being internet famous. Okay, basically, what has happened is there are people who have accounts on YouTube who post videos whose videos became very popular. They would have millions of people viewing their videos. Well, all of a sudden, YouTube and the users realize that there's money to be made here. So there we start having advertisements. So what happens is if I have a channel, a YouTube channel, and it's really popular, and I have 1 million people watch it every time I post a video, YouTube is going to put ads on that channel, and then we're going to split the revenue. Okay, so I'm going to make money off of ads on my channel. Well, Logan Paul, who's this guy on the left, these are 2 brothers, Logan and Jake Paul. They're 2 of the most popular YouTubers, which is apparently a word right now. Logan Paul on your left has 18 million subscribers. He gets 3 million views per day. Okay, how many TV shows get that many million views per day? He's a popular TV show. Okay, 3 million views per day, and he made $12.5 million in 2017. Okay, and all he does is he takes videos of his life doing really stupid stuff and posts it on the internet. Now, these guys, their demographic, the people who watch their show, are mostly young kids and some teenagers. Okay, here's the issue. These guys are teenagers as well, and they don't make the best decisions. Also, their videos tend to be very materialistic, not the best content, not the best language, and generally not the kind of lifestyle that I think we want to promote to our students. Jake Paul, on your right, he's really popular because he was on a Disney Channel show. And so there's a lot of young kids who know who he is and they watch his videos. It's just bad, okay? And now this is something I think we need to understand too. I know that it's hard to relate to this, okay? Because I have a hard time relating to this. I don't know why people want to watch these dudes live their lives. Like, that's not interesting to me, right? Like, I have a hard time understanding that. But for a lot of teenagers, they enjoy it. But we need to be able to censor and control what they're viewing. All right, so my personal suggestions for how you use YouTube with your students. YouTube offers parental controls, and they're actually pretty good parental controls. If you don't know how to turn those on, I can show you how to turn those on. I didn't want to go through it all on here, but I encourage you to use those parental controls. That being said, they're not perfect. They're not going to catch everything. What I would encourage you to do is find out what your student likes and do your research, okay? If they like a certain type of video, if they like to watch Fortnite videos, or if they like to watch whatever else, I only know Fortnite, whatever else people like to watch on YouTube, find out who is making videos like that and who is making clean videos like that. All that information is online, just Google it. And then when you get there, pay attention to the suggested or related videos. So this works 2 ways. When you click on someone's channel on YouTube, look at the related videos that pop up along with their channel. If the related videos look like they're inappropriate, then that channel's probably inappropriate. Okay? Also, on the front page of YouTube, there is a list of suggested videos that YouTube thinks I'll like based on what I normally watch. So again, if you go on your child's YouTube account and you see a bunch of suggested videos that look questionable, that means that YouTube thinks your child would like them based on what they've watched in the past. Okay, it's an easy way to know, have an idea of what our children are viewing. Encourage students to subscribe instead of browse. So what I mean by that is YouTube has a search bar, and you can let your child just go and search for videos, and they can type in whatever keywords they want and try to find the video they want. But here's the problem. There are millions and millions of videos on YouTube. Okay? It's too easy to find something we don't want them to see. So what we do is we do our research, we find out what channels they like, and we subscribe to those channels. If I'm subscribed to a YouTube channel, when they post a new video, it sends me an email or a text message, however I want to do it. So I know there's a new video, and I can send my child straight to that new video instead of just letting them look through everything. All right? Are there any questions about any of that? Yes?
Like, we use
Mm-hmm.
video games. But as far as YouTube channels, some people say it doesn't serve any form where I don't want to sit and watch everything.
Mm-hmm.
All Fortnite videos.
Well, with Fortnite, I'm going to help you out because I'll give you a list next week of ones that are good. But in general, there's not an easy way. There's some blogs out there where people are kind of going through. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with YouTube, is it's so big. And because it's so big, there's so many things out there, it's really hard to be able to keep up. And they're all short videos for the most part. Not all of them, but a lot. So when your child, you clear one video and you're like, okay, this is a good video. And then they watch it and 10 minutes later, they're ready for another one. It's hard. John?
I don't know how it works with older kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have great kids. One thing we did was Jonathan uses YouTube a lot. Literally, we don't watch videos, just look at videos on YouTube. He uses, he thinks it's his account. It's actually Keisha's account.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so that there's that history and that rhythm that you talked about, so
Mm-hmm.
they're able to see exactly what he's watching and things of that nature. That's been helpful for us.
Yeah.
It's not a end-all be-all, but when he gets older, I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
he'll be, hey, that's not my account.
Yeah.
What I've done is they have a MacBook and an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So I set them up under my Apple ID.
Mm-hmm.
So if I pick up my phone and I go to YouTube, I can see everything that they search
Mm-hmm.
from my phone.
The other nice thing about that, and we're going to talk about shared accounts next week, some when we talk about how to actually go about doing this in general, but one of the nice things about the way Apple is set up right now, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about Android phones, so if you have an Android phone, there's not much I can help you with. But if you have Apple devices, if you're set up on the same Apple ID, meaning the same email, so if Tiffany has my iPad, and I'm sitting in the office and she's sitting at our house, if she's on the internet on my iPad, there's a little window that pops up on the bottom of my computer, and I can click on it and see what website she's on. Now, I don't do that to like spy on her. It's actually kind of weird because I always forget when she has my iPad, but I imagine that could be useful. So there are some ways to kind of keep an eye on what's happening. We'll talk about those more next week. If your child is making videos and posting them on the internet, I mean that's your decision. I recommend that all videos and channels be private. There's just too much and too many people out there. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the one I've heard that it's hard, I think, from what I was looking at, it looked young. So I think for me, it felt like there's only so much time that works. But then also, I've heard, I've never seen it personally, but I've heard that YouTube has a tendency to miss things. And so, again, I think it's a good thing. It's just like the parental controls. It's like anything else. It's a good thing. You should use it, but we have to remember that it's never going to be perfect, right? Yeah.
I guess I missed this too, but my kids like this YouTube kids, and they, I'm talking about my 5-year-old.
Mhm.
He watches an egg being opened,
Mhm.
with a toy inside the egg, but he clearly watches somebody open the egg.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Mhm.
Absolutely loves it. I feel like it's not doing us great any favors.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I think we have to think about too. Is like, when I moved to the Dominican, I was really excited to like move to a village of 100 people where we weren't going to have internet or like anything. And I just thought it was going to be so cool to like disconnect, and be different and whatever. Get there, all the kids have cell phones. All the kids sit on their cell phones all day. It's no different. There is an addiction, something that forms, that happens, that we have to be mindful of. And it just happens everywhere. And I think about it too with me. Like I have a tendency to watch something and sit there forever, and really not even know what I'm watching. You know, yeah.
I have another thing that this is pretty eye-opening. So he had an old iPhone that was completely dead, and he had found it in the back, and he tried to plug it in and give it to Junior, because he watches it at night and stuff, so he thought, oh, here. Well, it didn't charge at all, so it was completely dead. But Junior was just absolutely taken by this. I mean, he brought it to church on Wednesday night, and it's a dead cell phone. I mean, it's just a black screen, but it is a dead iPhone. And he carries this thing around, and it just showed me what the priority is, that the example that Ann and I are setting for him. So it's us adults that are making this so important that our children are really gravitate towards. I mean, he was like bragging and
Yeah.
showing her, look, I have an iPhone. It's just a pretend one, but I have an iPhone.
And even just the way we treat certain phones over other phones, like the iPhone, the level of control that Apple has over the market, and they're actually not number one anymore; they're number 3 right now. But the level of control that they have over the market is unreal. There's never been a company that has had greater control over teenagers as far as market share than Apple. Used to be like what was the face wash company, L'Oreal or whatever? They used to have the most control over teenagers in the market, but right now it's Apple. It's huge, and that logo, our kids know what that is. Even if they don't even really understand what a cell phone does or how it works, they see it and they know what it is. We're going to jump forward. So when it comes to YouTube, real quick, looking at these factors, I think YouTube can be a really good thing. I think it's actually easier to manage than any of the other social medias. And also, I'll tell you, YouTube actually seems to care. They try. There's been some issues recently that I think they've responded to well. But remember, when you have millions and millions of videos, you can't catch anything. For example, some of these pornography producers, they will post videos that are pornographic onto YouTube and just hope that they make it long enough for people to see it before YouTube catches it. Sometimes they last an hour or two, and sometimes they last a lot longer. And so they can't catch everything. Okay? As we close tonight, let's finish off by talking about yes.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question?
Uh-huh.
You said that about the Fortnite videos that you download that are safe for them to look at.
Yes.
Is that one of those that they can subscribe to, or is that something different?
Yeah, so with the Fortnite videos, I'm actually going to show you in just a second, so you'll get to see it. There are channels that they can subscribe to. There's also, we're going to talk about live streaming in just a second, and there's also channels that are safe for live streaming. And with the Fortnite video game stuff, what I really mean by safe is just language more than anything else. Yeah, for sure. So thinking about video games, we established last week that video games are not just a guy thing. Okay, statistics say it's guys and girls. Basically, the numbers say that it's every guy and most girls, but literally every teenage guy plays some sort of video game. If they don't, then they're an anomaly right now. Like it's 99%. So the things we want to think about with video games, and I'm going to go over this briefly because I think you guys know this, is number one, addiction and just general time spent in the game. I have no issue with video games. I'll tell you now, I love video games. I play them all the time. Drives my wife crazy. But just like anything else, too much of one thing is not good for us. We have to remember that. Violence. I'm not going to tell you how to approach this. I think everyone has to make this decision for themselves. I do think that video game violence is a discussion that needs to happen. I think it's something that you as parents should decide for your family how you're going to approach video game violence. Here's what I will say. Not all violence is the same in video games, for me personally. For example, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, PlayerUnknown, Battleground, those kind of games, they tend to be much more realistic. Battlefield, they tend to be much more realistic, gory violence. I personally am not super, I don't like that very much. They tend to be much more realistic. But a game like Fortnite is much more cartoony. There's no blood. Killing people is not the focus of it, and I do think that those are two different things. Also pay attention to the ratings, okay? When you're talking about a game that's mature rated, meaning M, that's not just going to be about violence, that's also language and sexual content, okay? And that's gotten worse. So here's what I've told parents before. If you wouldn't let your child watch an R-rated movie, you shouldn't let them play a mature rated game, okay? Because it's not just going to be violence, it's going to be sexual content and language as well. Are there any questions or thoughts on that? All right. Also, sexual content, we talked about that. And last, interaction with strangers. We touched on this a little bit last week. But most games are multiplayer now. And most of the games, especially as we get into battle royales, which we're going to talk about in a second, we get into these massive multiplayer online games. Typically, you're on a team and you're talking to people over a microphone. What happens is you get placed on a team, or your child gets placed on a team with people they don't know. Okay? There's going to be a lot of language. There's a lot of just general bullying and rough treatment in video games because, again, it's kind of like Snapchat. I'm in Florida and I'm talking to some kid in New York who I'm playing a game against who I'll never see, never meet in my life. I feel a lot more comfortable saying whatever I want to say to him, to trash talk to him or to say to him, because I'm never going to have to actually see him in real life. Okay, so because of that anonymity or that perceived anonymity, people are a lot more comfortable saying things they wouldn't normally say. Let's talk about Fortnite. All right, so Fortnite, I want to tell you about, one, because a lot of you have students that play it. Two, a lot of you have students that will play it because I believe this game is going to stick around for a long time. I think we're probably going to be talking about this game 5 years from now, which has never happened before. But three, I wanted you to know about it because this is something that has happened in our world that is actually like a really big deal. And if you don't if you don't pay attention to video games, you don't really see it. So, Fortnite was a game that was released last year. It has 125 million players, which is a lot, like a lot. It is free to play. That's the big part. I have a lot of parents ask me, I don't remember buying this game for my kids. You don't remember buying it because you didn't buy it. It's free, okay? And it does not use pay to win. What that means is a lot of games on your phone, when you may have noticed this, if you download a game on your phone, you can play it, it's free, but in order to be really good at it or to be successful at it, you have to pay for like enhancements and things, and that's how they make their money. Fortnite doesn't do that. Okay, you cannot pay for anything on Fortnite that makes you better at the game. And so therefore, if you downloaded the game today, you would be on the same playing field as someone who's been playing for a year. Okay, that's how Fortnite works. It's one of the reasons why it's so popular. How they make their money is they sell skins. Okay, they sell cosmetic items to make your character look more interesting. And they're really good at marketing. So during the World Cup, you could get a soccer jersey from your favorite country for your character. During Halloween, they sell Halloween-themed skins. And the skins are almost expensive as buying an actual video game. So what happens is they're really smart because there's this psychological thing that happens when you download a free game. Normally, a game for your Xbox is $60. If I spend $60 on a video game, I'm probably not going to drop another $20 for something else that I want in the game. But if the game was free, and if I know the game is free, I'll go, oh, I didn't spend any money on this game anyways. I can spend $20. And then a week later, I kind of forget that I did that, and I spend another $20 and another $20. And what happens is the average user is spending double on Fortnite than what they would spend on a normal game. So Fortnite has made a ton of money. They've made over $1 billion in revenue and $318 million just in May alone. It's huge. So what Fortnite has led to, and I'll explain what Fortnite is. Basically, Fortnite is a massive multiplayer game. There's 100 players. You're in this bus. You airdrop onto a deserted island, and you have nothing. You go and you find weapons and you try to survive. The last man living wins. It's really hard, and it's really hard to win. And so one of the things that's happened is kids get obsessed with winning the game because it is kind of a special club. Like it's hard to win. I was playing this afternoon. I won, which doesn't happen to me very often. I won a game today, and I kind of screamed and woke the baby up. I got in trouble, okay? Because it doesn't happen very often. It was exciting. I took pictures and sent it to people because this was the first time I've won in like 3 months, I think. So that's how people get addicted to it, is it's something that's really hard to do, and so you keep playing and playing, hoping that you can make it happen. Fortnite streaming, video game streaming has existed before Fortnite, but Fortnite has taken it to the next level, okay? Because Fortnite is so popular, it has allowed people who stream video games to become popular. So Twitch.tv is a website that allows people, it's kind of like YouTube, but live. So what we're going to do while we're talking about this, I'm just going to do this. Okay, so this is Twitch. Basically, Twitch allows people to stream their video game while they play. And it allows other people to watch them play. Now, let me fast forward this so we're not just staring at his screen. The one that I'm playing right now is Ninja. That's his name, I guess. He is the most popular streamer in the world. When he jumps online, within 5 seconds of him jumping online and being posted as online on Twitch, he'll have 100,000 viewers. Every time he plays a game, he gets 100,000 people watching him play. If he's doing something special, he might get 200,000. He plays with a lot of celebrities, and people watch him a lot. Now, the reason why people like to watch is because, and the internet's going to have a problem here, but the reason why people like to watch is because he's really good. He's better than most people. I'll be honest, I watch Twitch sometimes. There's a guy that I like to watch that I think is funny, and it's kind of like listening to a podcast or something. It's easy to pass the time, and I learn about the game. If I'm thinking about buying a new game, I might get on Twitch, find someone who's playing it so I can see the game before I play it. So Twitch is actually a really good tool for parents. If your child tells you want a game, or that they want you to buy a game for them and you're not sure about it, go onto Twitch, type in the game, somebody will be playing that game online, and you can see the game before you buy it. It's actually a really good way to do that. So a lot of your students are watching this, but they're actually not watching it on Twitch. So Ninja and all the other streamers, here's what they do. He's going to do this live, and then he's going to record it and post it on YouTube. So what most of your kids are watching is the recordings on YouTube. Okay, I'll tell you, I think that if they watch it on YouTube, that's the best way they can do it. And the reason why, if I zoom out of this, yeah, the reason why is every Twitch channel has a chat room. And so this here on your right is a live chat, and any user who's watching that video can type in that chat. And it creates a situation where our students can get exposed to strangers. The other issue that we have with this, and I don't know that it's a problem, but it's just something to recognize. This guy is 26 years old. He's the same age as I am. He is currently making an estimated $300,000 to $500,000 a month doing this. Okay. So, your kids know that. Some of your kids are pretty good at this game. Not as good as they think they are, but some of them are pretty good. What's happening is our students see this. They see these guys who literally play video games for a living and make more money than I think anyone in this room is going to make. That's really tempting, okay? So that's the other reason why you see boys especially get so addicted to it, because it's like they think that they can go play basketball in college, right? Like they're going to play basketball all the time if they think they're going to get paid to do it eventually. It's the same thing. And that's kind of where that addiction comes from. The other issue with Twitch and just streaming in general, at the end of the day, like, just call it what it is. You're watching a dude on a camera sitting in his house, and it's live. And you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what he's going to say. There's a lot of channels that have really rough language and rough content. For those of you who have kids who watch these a lot, I will give you a list next week of 5 guys who I think are, I've got 1 that's really, really clean, and then 4 that are mostly clean. All right. So are there any questions or thoughts about anything we've talked about today? Yes.
Everything is automatically deleted. Is there a way to view what somebody has sent?
There is. So if you have, well, not really. There is a program available that allows you to see whatever is being sent and received from your child's phone. It's $40 a month if you're willing to pay that, and we're going to talk more about those next week. But there are several options right now as far as basically, what are they, cloning your kid's phone so you see everything that comes through. There's some of the AT&T I think still offers it where they'll send duplicate text messages to you of whatever sent or received for your child's phone. And again, we'll talk more about some of those next week and my thoughts on them and whether or not that's good or bad or all of that. Andrea? Yeah, so one of the things that they charge on Fortnite is they do seasons, okay? Seasons typically last about a month. You shouldn't get charged $10 this month, by the way, because this season's like 70 days. But I know way too much about this stuff. But they do seasons, and when the new season starts, you can buy the Battle Pass, which is basically a bunch of achievements that you can unlock, and you get free skins and things if you do that. It doesn't make sense to people who don't play. They can play it without it. Now, just so I don't get yelled at in about 10 minutes, let me say this. I think that he's referring to the PlayStation Network, which is something different. But we'll figure that out later. Remind me. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 I'll be honest. When it comes to video game, PlayStation has a really bad reputation for getting hacked. In fact, there's been about 7 major hacks in its existence. Right after it came out, it got hacked really bad. Xbox hasn't really gotten hacked yet. Doesn't mean it won't, but it doesn't have that reputation. All right, thank you so much for your participation. Next week, we're going to focus more on general cell phone use and pornography, which is going to be just loads of fun. So if you have any questions of things you want me to cover next week, please let me know, and I'll try to work those in. I tried to do that tonight with some things that I was asked to cover, so let me know, and I really appreciate it.
Can you post these on our website?
Yes, so they are actually on our YouTube. We're recording, and these are on our. I can do that as well. Yes, absolutely. All right, thank you very much. Let's close in a prayer. And oh, thank you. If you did not take the Lord's Supper this morning, is there anyone who needs to take it tonight? Okay, so if you'll go ahead and head out to the back. Let me shut this. All right, let's pray. God, we love you, and we just thank you for this time together. We thank you for the ability just to talk about your kingdom and our students and just the ways that Satan attacks us and tempts us, Father. And God, we just ask for your protection from Satan. We ask for your wisdom as we seek to discern what is right and what is good, what is helpful and beneficial for your kingdom. God, we ask that you lead us throughout this next week as we seek to do your will. In your Son's holy name, amen. Thank you very much.